There you go.
Wonderful say that I found I just got that, brother.
When I went to Karachi in 2018, I went to a place called North Nazimabad Town. I went to this place called Lucky One Mall. Great mall, bro. It had security. You get bomb treated every time you walk in there. You get bomb tested.
Wow.
But it's secure though. They had a Lebanese restaurant in that mall. Imagine that. In the middle of Karachi. Called Paramount. Has menaki, hummus.
Good food?
Huh?
Good food?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Thank you, Omar. We appreciate you too. Thank you all the way from Pakistan.
Kya baat.
Dil Pakistan.
Guys,
Morty.
thank you for joining on this Wednesday evening. It's a pleasure seeing you guys again.
Thank you.
Help us out on patreon.com/the Mamluks. We've been doing some upgrades here and working on some completely brand new equipment so that we can give you the quality that you deserve. Actually, you don't deserve that much, but our Patreon people do, right? And the people who are generous donors. I'm kidding. Of course, all of you guys deserve
donors and give some increase.
all of you guys, whether you donate or not, we're incredibly grateful to you for your support. Alhamdulillah, it's a long journey, and we've been still going at it.
Morty, alhamdulillah.
More, these new headphones of yours, they're very distracting.
Why?
They look like
hearing aids,
bro.
Yeah, but I like them because I don't have to put them over my head. Because every time I got to put something over my head gets hot. I got to keep adjusting them. My head gets itchy. Here, it's a nice clean look. I don't have to worry about things over my head. I like it.
Okay, well, as long as it works for you.
These ones, they make my ears hot. I get off them, I have like sweat in my ears. Who sweats in their ears?
More does.
Yeah.
Well, most gamers do as well.
I'm not a gamer,
playing video
bro.
games.
I mean, I play games, but I usually play with that. People.
Put some powder on you. Yeah.
No, listen.
Talcum powder.
So people were asking, like, when I'm on work calls, right? Sometimes I'll play Call of Duty, right? And I've gotten so good without playing with headsets.
Call of Duty while you're working?
Yeah, whatever. I'm on a work call, so I just play Call of Duty. I do some maps, but I've gotten so good without the headset. Like I only put it on when I'm playing with you guys because I can hear you guys. Otherwise, I could care less for the sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I generally don't like the over the ears. Because I'm used to wearing AirPods, and when I'm working out, I have the in-ears, right? So now having to deal with an hour with you guys, that's already tough enough, but then an hour of that going on top of there.
You betcha.
I mean, I have to look at your face for an hour. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But his face, if I was facing this way, I'd have a better view. But like this way.
Why is the Sheikh's face so dark?
Because the cameras bring the real nature of his face.
Flashing. The nur has gone. The new technology of these cameras is actually illuminating.
Or just be a little careful.
Is this any better?
Oh my God! Look how close you have to bring that light to him.
I think it's the positioning of the room.
No,
too.
I think it might be the camera
it's
setting.
All right.
We might have to toy around.
Let's not bore them with our shenanigans.
The technical aspects of YouTube.
Forget about that. Who cares about that?
Yeah, but at least they get to see that nice TV behind you.
Yeah.
No,
man.
Yeah, that's the TV. But by the way, for those of you, that's the TV that I look at. That's why when I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking over there because I have a TV mounted here so I can see you guys. I don't have to look at Sim, or I can just look directly at this guy here, unfortunately. But I can just look up. When I get tired of looking at his face, I just look up.
I love you too, brother.
Yeah.
What else can we see in this new? Oh, there's a Sheikh Ahmed's coffee corner in the back.
Oh, yes. There we go. That's the one with the extra sugar.
Yeah,
and,
black coffee.
That's not cocaine. The Sheikh doesn't do drugs. That's just sugar.
Yeah.
Not that anybody would assume that, but we just want to clarify.
We're going to be having a lot more cameras and stuff, and it's going to be kind of giving you guys different looks.
I made that clarification because last time there was a guitar back there, and they just wanted to blame Sheikh Ahmed for that, bro.
Did they really?
So we just want to make sure that is not cocaine. That's just sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, no fatwas, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sugar does have the same effect of cocaine, they say. Similar effects.
Is that your fatwa, Sheikh?
No, I said fatwa. I'm saying similar effects.
If you're saying sugar has the same effect of cocaine, is that khamr now?
No, bro, it's okay, dude. You'll be all right.
Okay.
I promise.
Continue, Ya Sayyidi.
Yeah. So, folks, if you got any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. we're still figuring out how to set up some of these new settings and
let me entertain the guest in the
Yeah.
meantime while you get the StreamYard, because you're gonna have to log in. So let me give you that while we do this.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll just go ahead and log in. It's gonna ask for the email. It's muzzybuzzshow@gmail.com. That's the one.
Yeah. Just don't announce your password.
No, it's gonna ask me to email to. It's gonna give me a code, and then you have to put it in.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't give you a password. Yep. Anyways, so Sheikh, you were talking about something before we got started, and you were completely lost, and then we wanted to make you look dumb on the air. So what was that thing you were asking about?
Thank you for the generous preface.
What
a guy you are.
My pleasure.
So the thing I was actually concerned.
Stupid about. Yes. Continue.
What was it about again? What were we talking about? Oh, the Jewish protest thing. So the guys that there was somebody had sent me a article with a video that was a group of anti-Semites that were in front of a synagogue / school, I think it was, and they were excrementing loads of
excrementing,
loads of
like they were physically defecating.
No, verbally.
Oh, okay.
Verbal diarrhea of being very. I mean, they were
being
super
vulgar.
hateful, very vulgar.
And offensive.
Hail Hitler. They were saying that making fun of Jews about burning inside of ovens, and they had ovens with them, saying, "Hey, how many of you can we fit in here?" So my thing was, I shared that article with them today, and I came here today saying to them, and there's police officers all there too, a few police officers, and I said, how is it that these people are not getting arrested? That's where the conversation started, by saying such hateful, and I used the word discrimination, and then Mort had clarified for me what is required in discrimination, that something actually has to be taken away from you.
So generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, freedom of expression and freedom of speech applies when you're not inciting violence or threatening or threat to somebody else. And generally speaking, in all other cases, when it's public domain, not private, right?
Because they're standing on the sidewalk outside of the synagogue,
and when it's not related to someone's rights or services being taken from them. For example, a workplace can't tell you that they're not going to hire you because you're a specific color or religion or gender. A bank can't tell you that we're not going to loan to you because you belong to a particular background or gender, right? These are anti-discrimination laws, right? However, if you're simply just expressing yourself and you're not really, there's nothing to preventing that person from going about their day. You're not blocking them. You're not imprisoning them against their will or anything like that. You're just simply on public domain, and you're speaking your mind, and you're allowed to do that as an individual. If you have a group of people, different states and different localities have requirements for permits. If you satisfy that, you can generally say what you want to say. You can preach against Jews, Muslims, Christians, it doesn't matter, gays, whatever you want to do, straight people, whatever you can say, whatever in the most vulgar way. It's protected speech in America.
Yeah. No, so that's something that I understand, free speech, but I didn't realize that someone can go outside of a synagogue. I know protesting, that's fine. I didn't know that you can say, because they're Jews, that you can say Hail Hitler. Yeah. I didn't know that they can go there and say, hey, you guys burn in these ovens, look how many of you can you fit in here. I always thought that type of taunting was considered a certain type of assault, like a certain.
So I think it's like, if you said we want to put you in here, that would be a cross of speech.
Yeah.
Asking a question, saying how many can do this, it's a play of the words.
Yeah.
But I think what you're confusing is that in certain countries, like the UK and Canada, they have things called inflammatory speech, which you can be stopped for, right? Inciting inflammatory words, like, these kinds of things.
And there's no states in the United States that
not that I know
have
of.
that?
No. It's one of those things that make America America. Like, you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the thing is, look, people could say whatever they want, but it just, no matter who it is, that just doesn't sit well. I guess with a rational-minded person to just spew that type of jargon when little kids are around and people are around at a place of worship. For us, I guess it's a whole different story. But when you see something like that, you're like, at first you're like, ha 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 ha, whatever. Is this real? Is this parody? Is this? And it's really happening. And there's cops there. They're cussing at the cops, and I don't think too many people. And my thing was, look, cussing at the cops while they're doing all that. I don't think any black dudes or any brown people would be able to get away with that as smoothly as you think so.
I've said F you to cops many times.
Oh, of course you have.
No, I mean, I've said, what the F are you doing?
Yeah, what the F are you doing is different.
No, I mean, why the F are you here in front of me? Like, what are you doing, But again, the idea is that you don't do it now because a situation can be worse for you.
You guys might think that Mort is just saying that. I've seen it. We were in college, and this guy had a stack of parking tickets, and someone runs up to me and Mort. We're like sitting at some coffee table at at college, and they're like, "Oh, your car's getting towed. Mort, go get your car. The tow truck's right there." And he runs up to the car, up to the tow truck. I'm running behind him, and we stop him, and we're like, "Hey, don't I already?" And Mort's like, just starts like going off like, I already paid the ticket, blah blah. He didn't pay crap. He didn't pay, but he's just going on, and the guy's like, okay, well, you know what, this time I'll let you go. And then he's still arguing with him. I'm like, Mort, just let it go. He's letting you go.
The tow truck guy or the police officer?
I think it's like he's with the campus security
guy that everyone used to avoid.
He's with like campus security. He's got like the license to like tow your car as well. So he's like illegally
parked. No, it was a police officer that went to go get the tow truck. That's what he did.
And I'm like, why the hell are you still arguing with him? He's saying you can go.
No, you know what it was.
He's like, oh, you're making me change my mind. I'm like, just officer, he's partly retarded. Just ignore what he said. I'm literally stepping in. I'm like, he's retarded.
You know what it was? It's the tone they say it. If you say it to me in a tone that I feel like demeaning to me, I'm gonna give it back to you, right? Of course. Now would I do that? Probably not. But what I'm saying is,
not. You're a grown man now.
Yeah, the point being, though, is that you can, as a brown person, definitely do stuff. But is it going to make your life any easier? Probably not, right? It's probably best to deal with the situation in the appropriate way. However, I'm not going to be arrested for saying, screw you, F you. I can say whatever I want to say to him. If I'm not resisting anything, if they put me in cuffs, I would just say, I can just scream the F word a bunch of times to him. It doesn't really matter. There's no additional charges for me doing that.
Yeah,
no, you get what I'm saying?
No, I know. There's no additional charges.
So many times, it's done that. Like we will say pigs to him all the time. What's up, pig? Like I mean, all the time, bro. One of my cousins boxed a police officer off the books in Omer. I mean, just literally, we'll walk up to him like, "Hey, if you think you're tough, pull your badge off. Let's go box right now." I mean, stuff like this, right? So you can. I mean, look, I'm not saying you should do it. But I'm saying this idea that because we're brown and we, there's a no, it's not that. You can really do it, but these people, you have to understand something. If you do something like this publicly, like what these people are doing, and people know who you are, they can definitely report. The whole idea of cancel culture was born out of this. They can find out where you go to school, where you go to work. They can ask them to disassociate from you, so you lose your job. You can lose your college education, whatever it may be. You can lose affiliations, and that's how they work on it, because they know that speech is protected by the law, but doesn't mean society has to generally accept it or be associated with it. So there's other repercussions, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about specifically from as far as legal ramifications. There's nothing legally they can do to you. Try it.
No, thank
One
you.
day. Just go ahead.
Thank you.
We'll have the
when I
bell
get pulled over, hands on the steering wheel, bro. 2 o'clock and 9 o'clock.
The dua hands, you put them like this.
No, I put them like this, bro.
No, you can't.
Yes, officer?
No, because they might conceal. You have to go like this. The best
How
way
can
to
I
do
help you, officer?
If you go to,
how can I make your life easier, officer?
If you go to a concealed carry class, they tell you to put your hands like this. Not like this, because you can still conceal things inside here. They want to see your hands like this.
Oh.
Dua hands, bro.
Yo, I'm still waiting for that code.
Oh, you didn't tell me you did it.
Oh.
I thought you were still goofing around some other things. Okay.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Sheikh, are you looking forward to Ramadan?
Of course.
No
It's
one.
my favorite time of the year, bro.
It's my favorite, Sheikh. It can't be your favorite and my favorite.
Was it
You
you
know-
or more? Hold on.
wait,
Hold on.
wait,
Was it
you-
you or more telling me? Wait, if I go to a country, if I travel all over
That's
Ramadan,
him, bro.
do I
That's
have to
him.
fast or
That's
not? Was
him.
that you?
Him. No, that's him. I know the answer
That
to
was
that.
me,
That was
Sheikh.
last
But
year.
that was when I was like not.
Last year.
That was
My
last
iman wasn't
year.
very high.
That was last year.
That wasn't last.
That
was last year.
Dude, what if I just travel all year? I was like, Sim, you still have to make it up. I know, but still, man, it's just so hard.
But
Hey,
that
I don't know.
code
Actually, I don't know if that was you.
It's limited,
That
bro.
was me. That was me.
You got logged in?
Oh no.
The code is a limited time thing, bro.
Oh, whoa.
Just distracting our Sayyidi.
No, sorry. He asked me the question, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No, you asked him the question. Was it one of you guys?
No, he asked me, are you ready for Ramadan, bro?
Yeah, you should be not ask him a question in return.
I have to, bro.
We're a month away, man.
We are.
Yeah.
How do you feel
Second
about
of
that?
Shaban, third of Shaban.
What's your
coming up.
personal Ramadan goal?
Oh man, that's it's
I mean, we can't recite all the Quran with you, but how about you help us out for beginners? You know?
No, how about I challenge you this year? We will do just a day.
Oh my God, that's
Come
too
on,
much.
you can read with me.
Bro, you can read Quran so much more faster than me,
I'm
bro.
saying, hold on, I'll read and you read along with me. So you still get to
just
really
break it up
read.
in 4 times a day. Read 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes.
You know
You'll
what
get
I
it.
found most beneficial for? By the way, I've read Quran for most of my life, but it's still like difficult for me. I don't know why.
Because you
And
have
maybe I'm partially like
No, I mean, here's the
learning
reality,
disability,
right?
learning disability.
no, no.
perhaps? No.
I mean, that could be it too, but the thing is that if you...
No, you're supposed to say no.
No, why not? It could be... hey, I'm not a medical professional. I can't diagnose you,
No,
sir.
but you should be encouraging.
I don't want to be giving
But
faulty
you are a
medical
friend,
advice.
and you should be encouraging me.
Yeah, but I never said you can't do it because you're, mentally challenged. You can still do it. So, listen.
With friends like these, who needs enemies?
Right?
No, listen. You know what? Honestly, friends should be honest, right?
That's
do, you want,
true.
do you want me to just BS you?
Sometimes.
No.
What?
Go to your wife for that. Okay? Yeah. So listen. Anyways, the point being is this. No matter how many times you read the book, even if you are a native Arabic speaker, if you don't read the Quran, it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you read it, you can't just be Ramadan.
Yeah, right.
If the more you read it, the easier it becomes because the Quran is made that way.
Yep.
When
10
you put
minutes
it-
a day, that's
when
all
you
you
put
need.
it down, it becomes rusty for you.
Yeah.
Right? But if you do just a little bit now, that are like maybe 5 minutes a day, just in
Bro,
between.
you know what I found incredibly helpful? When I was studying level 1 Arabic, the first year of Arabic.
Oh,
stuff,
mashallah.
remember, we were studying it
The
together.
Mursal one. Remember we were joking
Yeah.
about that.
So when you read it without the makasra and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, without or having that kind of mental exercise for not
Exactly.
reusing those, that made the Quran reading so much
To
more
expect
easier.
the sound, like so you know how to read without
Yeah.
having a tashkil, meaning you're
Yeah,
saying,
because
right?
in the Quran you're just going the Dhamma Kasra is actually slowing you down.
Yeah, but I mean, they're still very important.
No,
because
they're
most
important. I'm not saying
Yeah.
for most
because
people
most
it is.
people will pronounce the wrong endings if they don't know.
But Sheikh, like as an Arabic speaker yourself, would you do you still need that the Dhamma Kasra?
No, if you know basic Arabic grammar, you don't really
Yeah,
need it.
so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're learning basic Arabic in general, you're going to be ignoring the Dhamma Kasra.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's certain things like when you read, like for example, like I know what the ending's gonna be, the ending sound. I know what the how you're gonna conjugate. Those things you kind of like I said, it's a rhythm,
Yeah.
and the more you do it, it just becomes second nature, right?
Right.
But it can't be just doing it in Ramadan.
Yeah.
That's where people fail. Like, why is it so hard? Well, because you just do it for
Yeah.
30, and at that time, it's not even like you're really dedicating. You're just trying to speed through it because you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta finish the juz today. I gotta finish the Quran this month.
Yeah.
Right. You're not really taking the time to
Very true.
go through it. So if you really want to do it, I tell you, if you read I put it this way: if you read for 5 minutes a day outside of Ramadan, I guarantee you in Ramadan you'll finish the juz in 20 minutes.
Easily. No, yeah. Even if it's a half an hour. Look, let's say it takes you an hour. Let's say it takes you an hour to finish a juz, right? In the Saudi Mus'haf, there's 20 pages, right? So let's say reading 20 pages takes you 1 hour, right? Just divide it up in 4 different times. Look, I know it's not easy. Look, nothing is easy, right? That's the first thing. When Ramadan is approaching, like we have the month of Sha'ban, which is a beautiful month. Rasulullah used to fast in Sha'ban, right? And the narrations are what? That his fasting in Sha'ban outside of Ramadan was the month that he used to fast the most, right? And he's doing that obviously because he's Rasulullah, but also to let us know that this is where the preparation, if you haven't started yet, you have to start in Sha'ban. What more beautiful time is there? But the other thing is that if you're not used to reading, start from now. Like you said, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. What ends up happening is that if you break it up 4 times, say 15 minutes, 15 minutes, dude, 15 minutes goes by so, I'm telling you, dude, just today, this morning, I was getting my son ready for school. I'm just checking my emails. 15 minutes literally went by in 2 minutes, bro. Yep. Now, look, the other thing that Mort is talking about, getting 5 minutes a day, that's very, very important. Because when you start reading Quran in Ramadan, which is the month of the Quran, let's not forget. So you have to sacrifice a little bit for Quran. You have to feel discomfort. But you want to get over the phase of difficulty of reading, because you don't want to spend Ramadan in difficulty of reading the Quran.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is, if you're not used to reading, memorizing, just studying the Quran, whatever the case is, the difficulty phase, you don't want to face it in Ramadan. That's not what Ramadan is for.
It's discouraging.
It's not even just discouraging, but Ramadan is not for facing the difficulty of the Quran. Look, sometimes, last week we talked about sometimes you got to say it like it is to each other. And it's very uncomfortable. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, if it's taking you an hour to read the Quran, you've not given the book of Allah its rights.
Wow.
You've not given its rights, and you as a Muslim, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Because this is something I give advice to myself, I give it to my own family. If you think it's okay, you're going on 40 minutes to read a juz, I'm telling you right now, I know the point of the Quran is not just to read it. You have to understand it. All Shaitan's going to give you waswas and all that kind of stuff. You're reading the Quran, you're having a hard time. You say, just go to the meaning. Just read the meaning, man. That's it. And what ends up happening is, what I've seen brothers is, they made a goal of reading the Quran in the beginning of the year, in beginning of Ramadan, and they end up reading 1 or 2 juz, and one of those juz is juz amma. You know what I'm saying? And like, how much did you finish throughout the year? Because they're asking me to be hard on them. They're asking me to give them, to be real with them. And I say, you read only 2 juz throughout Ramadan, right? So the other thing is, look, this is what I follow with my kids. The 5-minute rule is awesome. 10-minute rule for my kids, a majority of the days, 10 minutes a day. When we get to Rajab, 15 minutes a day. When we get to Sha'ban, 20 minutes. Ramadan, 30 minutes. That's all I ask from them. Nice. What ends up happening is they end up reading way more than 30 minutes. But I just tell them, this yesterday I was reading with them, 15 minutes is up, guys, stop. If you don't want to continue, it's totally cool. If you want to continue, it's totally up to you, but you don't have to. What happens in Ramadan is, when they read 30 minutes, usually becomes 45 minutes in the first 2 weeks.
You know what happens?
Yeah.
When you find your rhythm, you're like, I don't want to end the surah here.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to finish the surah.
Yeah.
And
who wants to stop in the middle of a page?
Nobody does, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm just going to go and finish the juz, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. Like, but what I've done, I found too, it's very helpful. If you want to finish the Quran in Ramadan, you need to make a plan. If it's going to be a juz a day, whatever it is, or whatever you want to do, or 2 juz, however you want to do it, right? But you need to get it down in a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet I use every year. I just clear it up every year, and I mark it down. Juz 1 done, Juz 2 done, Juz 3 done, and I have a day by day 30. Yeah. But more than often enough, I'm getting through them quicker than that. But that's just at the bare minimum. It has to be 1 juz a day. Yeah. Right? So when you build this accountability for yourself, hey man, did I check that off, right? And then sometimes what happens is, maybe one day you didn't get to the full juz, right? You know what? But then you start looking at the day and it's not checked off. You're like, man, I gotta finish that off today. I don't want to be going on, keep building it up. So you hold yourself accountable. Yeah. So I do that for myself.
No, and look, I'm glad you mentioned the spreadsheet thing. Look, a lot of times people can say this is tedious, this is that. If you're a spreadsheet type person who likes to do their checks and balances that way, remember, dude, Allah is so merciful. The act of you sticking to Allah's kalam by way of a spreadsheet, creating that spreadsheet is an act of worship for you. We have to remember that. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to start reading the Quran. No, you getting prepared. Allah is counting that as your ibadah. You're doing wudu because you want to read the Quran and wudu and touch the Quran and wudu. All of those are acts of worship. If the believer just does the simplest of things that Allah is asking them to do, they'll be in a constant state of ibadah throughout the day. And Ramadan is a time to see that. So the first thing is, Ramadan is not just a time of acts of worship, but it is having full confidence that Allah is rewarding you for you even taking those preparations, right? And the other thing is, look, a lot of us, we are afraid of Ramadan because of our own poor planning. We think, okay, it's the first of Ramadan, oh my God, I gotta start fasting. What ends up happening, it becomes like that, like nobody likes Sundays when they're in school because it reminds them of the next day of school, so they just feel depressed on Sundays, right? That's what happens to us right before Ramadan if we don't prepare for it. oh my God, Ramadan's a week away. Like, I see people like, oh my God, Ramadan's a week away, I'm screwed. I'm like, what do you mean? It's Ramadan. Dude, this is the month you're going to be saved, bro. This is the month where Allah's going to protect you from everything. Just do what you regularly do throughout the year, and Allah's going to tip those balances for you.
Can I ask you guys something, though?
Yeah.
People, I mean, maybe when you're younger, you probably dreaded, oh, I got to fast. It's hard, right? But as you've gone through the motions over the years, right? You know, I know everybody has felt this. Allah makes it easy in Ramadan when you fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, many of us probably don't do the fasting outside of Ramadan because it's just difficult, right?
Yeah, it's a daunting task.
In Ramadan, Allah makes it easy. And we know that. So for me, I was like, yo, this is going to be a peak. I mean, honestly, by like the middle of the month, I'll be honest with you. Last Ramadan, it just went by so quick.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I didn't even feel like it.
The days are going to be shorter this year, too.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, though, that even if the days weren't shorter, even in the 3 years ago, when it was the dead of the summer, right, it just went by quick. I'm like, oh my God, we're in the 15th day already. You know, in 5 more days, we're going to be the last 10 days of Ramadan. Like, it just moves that quick. So what I'm saying to you is, there's nothing to fear. You've been through this already. Allah makes it easy. All you have to do is make sure your intention is there.
Yeah.
If your intention is there, Allah will take care of the rest of it.
You're right. You're right. And don't be afraid of Ramadan. I'm trying to tell it to as many people as I can, man, because a majority of what I hear, I shouldn't say all, is, oh my God, Ramadan's a month away. I was like, dude, you're not supposed to be scared of this month, man.
Yeah, I mean, rather, when I tell people and say, Allahumma balighna Ramadan, like, make that dua that Allah lets you reach Ramadan.
Of course.
Because that's something, if just saying that is a boost for you in your mind, like, hey, cool, man, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. And what other better preparation is the preparation of the Sahaba, right?
Oh, yeah.
When Ramadan would finish, 6 months or half of the year, they would just make dua that Allah accepted Ramadan. 6 months prior, 5 months prior, 4 months prior to Ramadan, oh Allah, help us reach Ramadan. Oh Allah, let us attain Ramadan. Oh. So their whole year was revolving around Ramadan, and it takes that fear away from us of this Ramadan being some scary thing. It's a beautiful thing. Embrace it.
Do the people like in Syria who are affected by the earthquake in Turkey, do they have to fast too still?
Yeah, I mean they have to fast, but if they don't have food and access to, their resources that are required to be a healthy human being, or to
did they fast at Khandaq? At Badr?
No, they even they fasted during wars and everything. But
that's
the
a
thing
rhetorical
is
question, Morton. I don't like it. And I don't like the
no,
face
but the
that
more
you're making.
since question is valid.
You think a little bit,
if
bro,
people are
that's all.
going, if people,
If I was there, look, I would be in travel mode. Let's just put it that way. I would be traveling to a place where
there's Allah would be with the people of Syria and Turkey, man. The other earthquake happened, I think, 2 weeks after, right?
Yeah.
6.4 on the Richter scale again. So Allah's testing them very heavily, and Allah helped them pass their test with flying colors and gives them Jannah without any reckoning out of. But yeah, man, I'm actually pretty excited about Ramadan. The month of Rajab and Sha'ban is where the direction of the Qibla was changed. So it's beautiful how Allah gives us these months even prior to Ramadan that we're commemorating the changing of the Qibla. When Ramadan was actually prescribed to Rasulullah the second year of the Hijrah around this time, it's a beautiful time to be, man, being in Sha'ban. It's a beautiful thing.
I remember Muhammad al-Sharif's Rahimullah, one of his first articles he wrote, and I think he's embarrassed by it now, or last time we spoke to him, because I mentioned it on the show, and he made this face where he didn't want to talk about that article. It was called Ramadan Warriors, and it was talking about like how people don't want to do anything to prepare for Ramadan and just want to just do everything in that month, and that's like a poor approach to it. But I thought the article was much more direct and maybe like a good way to talk to people, because I think maybe we've gone kind of towards the other end of how to communicate with people with just an incredibly soft approach and like, no, brother, you should do this. But it was kind of like a direct rebuke against
calling you out.
Yeah, it was calling you out, And I remember on our episode with him mentioning the article, and he just kind of like looked away, because he didn't want to. He wasn't happy with that article, I guess, because his tone changed and stuff. But I loved it, and I thought it was great. And a good approach, just like how you mentioned, like you can't be just waiting for the month to come. And I think one of my hacks was also I wanted to share with people was if you're having difficulty reciting the Quran, I usually go on Quran.com and I just pause every time. So I'm reciting along with the reciter, and I pause anytime I get stuck. So I don't need to necessarily have a live human being in front of me where he's correcting me. I'm just pausing as
and you can slow the speed and all the time. Some of the websites too. There's a lot of cool websites where you can slow it down, repeat, all
put
that
transliteration
stuff.
if you're having difficulty with some of the Arabic. So much research. Quran.com is just next level now, man. Imagine if we had that when we were young.
I mean, to be honest, I still refer to it. Like if I'm a little bit unsure of how something will join, like some of the words, like I want to make sure that it's pronounced, because it's not just the joining and that, but even the way the tajweed, the makharij behind it, I'll refer to it. I'll listen to it and say, listen, like how maybe the noon, the second of it. I'll just go in and I'll make sure that I have it right, just to perfect it, right? Because you want to make sure that it's Kitab Allah, right?
You
want to make
use
sure
everything you have.
Yeah.
But let me ask you guys this before we move on to the next topic. We talked about something that a lot of people also are scared of. Even we take a step back. When you say prepping for Ramadan, preparing for Ramadan, what comes to your mind when you think of preparing for Ramadan? Not just you, but generally that you've observed. What does preparing for Ramadan mean?
So for me, a big part of that is making sure I've blocked out certain parts of my day, my work schedule, because I'm not going to leave it for last minute. I'm going to make sure that I, say, hey, because certain parts of the day I will block out. Because you know what? I'm like, hey, man, I know I'm going to be tired in certain parts of the day. So my lunch hour.
Just put busy on Outlook?
Yeah. I'm busy I'm taking my nap. But it's my lunch, but it's my nap, bro. I'm going to take it, right? Making sure I have the right kinds of food. What am I going to be eating through Ramadan, right? That's a big part, right? Because you want the right nutrition, right? Yeah. If you eat the bad food, you get hungrier or you just don't
feel
get
weird.
Enough, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? I literally try to plan, well, how am I going? I look at the suggested, the calendars of the approximate suhoor and futur times. And I try to plan my night. Like, how am I going to, what part? Am I going to stay awake for a certain part and then sleep and then wake up and pray Fajr and eat before and then or am I going to just wake up before? Like, I plan these things so I know, what my schedule is going to look like and build my routine. Because the biggest thing is that when you don't have a routine is when things become harder, right? And so you have to know, for me, it's a big part because, many people are busy. And when you don't have something scheduled, it becomes very easy to become lax and become, lose benefit of what you're actually doing. So that's another thing. Another thing too is I'll plan is that I will intentionally say, hey, listen, you know what? Just because it's Ramadan, I am not going to stop, because for me, Ramadan is not supposed to be the time where you slow down, right? So if I'm working out during the regular, month of the year, I'm going to work out even harder Ramadan.
Yeah, working out fasted is beautiful too, man.
Meaning what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be the same intensity, but meaning like every day before iftar, I go an hour before.
Best time to work out.
And so I make that a habit because so I get excited about these things. Oh, I can't wait. Because when you have a schedule, right, you're like, hey, now I got everything planned. It's not a burden. It's not like something that, oh my God, it's going to ruin everything, right? I find the barakah in it, and then you're able to incorporate it, right? But that only can come from planning. If you don't plan these things, right? Yeah. So it's food, it's the night part, it's the work schedule, it's your regular activities in the daytime. Also, you're going to plan on me personally, is planning on limiting the amount of iftars I go to. Because let's be honest here, a lot of times time gets wasted. Right? I mean, honestly, even if you're not going to the masjid for Taraweeh, whatever it is, but at some point, though, you could be doing something in the night where you're reading the Quran, for example, right? You could be doing, but if you're spending time there, you just literally, all you're doing is you're just relaxing after you broke your fast. Yeah. And it's not, you're not taking any benefit from it at all, right? And so I try to plan that too. Oh, and also one more thing I'll plan is that we all take that Ramadan nap. But plan what time you're going to take it. Yep. So you can build your day. Don't just take it randomly. Say, you know what? Okay, after work, I'm going to sleep for an hour, then hit the gym just before iftar. Something like that, whatever it is for you, it works, right? But you have to plan that. Stick to that.
Exactly.
You guys remember this one, my old boss, hardcore Christian, and his Christianity was so, he implemented it so well. I really admired, his implementation of it. He was non-denominational. He's an Indian guy from, obviously from South India, but Kerala. He came from a Hindu background and he accepted Christianity and me and him would have a lot of discussions, about Islam, and we would go back and forth, and even like coworkers would like circle us. It was just kind of like that kind of friendly environment. Normally, like those kind of debates and things don't happen in the workplace, but everyone had worked with each other with a number of years, and we were very comfortable around each other. But we had gone back and forth with like debates, and it was almost like a speaker's corner, and people just listen in, and they were like atheists and stuff, and just circling around us and seeing what we're discussing. And at one point where we came to a point in the discussion where he said, okay, well, I have these couple more points that someone gave me. I want you to answer them, and they were like, this stupid typical stuff, like the age of Aisha and things like that, women's rights or stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, once we solve these issues, are you ready to accept Islam? And then he's like, no, I can't. And I'm like, okay, well, why can't you? And then we talked about the Jesus stuff, and why he can't be the son of God. And then he just came to a point where it's like, he's like, Sim, I can't become Muslim. I used to live with them. I used to see them every day. He used to work in Dubai with them, and he's like, I saw them. They would party all night. They would sleep all day during Ramadan. They would engorge themselves. They would not practice their faith at all. I'm like, bro, like, I get that, but he's like using this excuse, right? I'm like, bro, there's so many Christians who say they're Christian, but they don't. Like, you should know better than anyone that Christianity has the same problem, where there's many people who don't actually implement the faith the way it's supposed to be, and you're just probably around these people who didn't practice Islam. But it's just something that reminded me about how, like, in certain cultures, in certain countries, where they have this like party lifestyle of Ramadan, how they're just partying all night, just engorging themselves. There's some people, like, you'll see on the news, they get sent to the hospital. Like, they get ambulances because they eat so much food, they have to be sent to the hospital.
Those memes are gonna go out.
Yeah, man. So it's insane. It's something to think about. It's not just about like how you are taking care of yourself, but it's also like everyone around you, your coworkers, all your non-Muslim people, they're all looking at you, and you have to be this representation of how well you embody Ramadan,
Yeah.
At least the way you carry yourself, right?
Of course, man. That's what, look, one thing I tell people is, especially if they have a really hard time doing ibadat and all that kind of stuff, I just tell them, don't start adding up a whole bunch of stuff that you're not used to doing. It's a no-brainer, right? Just do what you regularly do throughout the year. Pray your 5 daily prayers on time. Yeah. Don't make an intention of oversleeping, praying Fajr in the afternoon. Right? Basic stuff. Like, preparation for Ramadan, number one, means, are you doing all the basics? Your Fardul Ain.
Yeah.
Are you doing the basics? Number one. If you're not doing the basics outside of the year, start with that. It's very, very simple. If you don't read Quran throughout the year, just Mort's advice, 5 minutes a day, you'll realize for the first week that is so easy and not challenging at all. You're going to eventually up it the second week, right? Yeah. And then the third week. And even if you look, we were talking about finishing the Quran and stuff. That's really cool. If you can't finish the Quran, at least spend 5 minutes a day with the Quran. There's no other way as a believer. There's no other way to claim that we love Allah and not read his speech that he gave, divine speech that he gave to us in this world. If Musa alayhi salam's staff was still here, that was miraculous. People knowing our condition, some of them would probably be worshipping it.
Yeah.
Right? The Quran is a much greater miracle than the staff of Musa alayhi salam, even though it's a great miracle. But the best miracle and the final miracle, Allah has preserved it for us to stay in touch with him directly. Any verse that you read, if you read it the way it's supposed to be read, you have to understand that Allah is speaking to you. Just yesterday, just 2 days ago, my son, my almost 6-year-old, he was reading Surah Al-Baqarah, and he was reading the verse فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. And I stopped him. I said, look, Allah is speaking to you. Do you know what he's saying to you? He said, what? I said, he says, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. That's the only verse. I didn't break down the entire juz for him that he's reading. And I said, you know what that means? He said, no. I said, فَاذْكُرُونِي, Allah is speaking to the person who's reading this, saying that if you remember me. You know what the beautiful thing about this is? The person who's reading this verse is actually remembering Allah. That's how beautiful this verse is.
Yeah.
So Allah, while you're reading this verse, you're remembering Him. Within that remembrance, He's telling you, if you remember me, I will remember you. Now, what is that? Like, Allah is remembering you. What does that mean? Washkuru li, and thank me, wala takfurun. Allah gives us the keys to Jannah right here. The first is, if you remember Allah, Allah will remember you. Right? There's no greater honor than Allah mentioning you. Rasulullah said that if you remember Allah, He mentions you in a gathering better than that gathering. That is what? The gathering of the angels. By name. Right? Washkuruli, and just give thanks. And wala takfurun. Over here, wala takfurun means don't deny the favors that I've given you. That also means kufr. So this was the verse that would be the easiest for him to understand. Right? And the easiest for him to say, for me to tell him that if you remember Allah, Allah remembers you. That's how simple it is, right? So some of us feel very inclined to read the meaning and the tafsir of everything. They don't feel comfortable. Sometimes that can be the waswas of shaitan also. Yeah. Because you end up getting overwhelmed by that and you don't read Quran either, right? If you're already going towards Allah, shaitan's not going to say don't read, right? He's not going to distract you with something that's not rational. Yeah. He's a very rational being. Right, Shaitan al-Rajim, right? But so what I'm trying to say is, look, you have to remember, it doesn't make sense that we don't read the Quran outside of Ramadan. That's fine, but guess what? This 1 month is going to overtip the scales of the other 11 months. Use 5 minutes and realize that you are reading the miracle, the greatest miracle of Rasulullah, which is the speech of Allah. 5 minutes a day, because Allah is speaking to you. In every verse that you read, Allah is actually giving you advice. It's not just I'm reading, I'm getting 10 ajrs for every letter. Allah is actually speaking to you. This is what it is. Muhammad got revelation to Allah with this speech. We still commemorate and celebrate that speech with Allah communicating with us as we read the Quran. That's the key to the Quran. If you want to communicate with Allah, you have to open the Quran. So it doesn't make sense that the believer doesn't go through the communication of Allah and claims that he loves Allah. It doesn't work that way. A person doesn't claim that he loves Rasulullah and doesn't know anything about Rasulullah. It doesn't work that way, right? Then you start toning that fine line between us and the Christians. They say they love Jesus, but they don't follow Jesus, right? Yeah. It all just becomes this emotional thing that love, and you have nothing to show for it, right? So we don't want to be amongst those people. Now is the time to start that, like Mort said, right? Start 5 minutes a day and carry in that 5 minutes a day in Ramadan. Make that your plan. That's it. Don't do anything else. Pray your 5 daily prayers on time and read 5 minutes of Quran a day. And another beautiful thing is just to get out. I know the weather in Chicago is getting a little warmer. It's a beautiful practice, man. Go out for a walk. And if with your family, go out for a walk. I love taking walks right before iftar, and make a goal. Okay, we're going to read Allahumma salli ala sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad 100 times in this walk, and we're going to do astaghfirullah 70 times. That's it. That's all you have to do.
This guy would be really good about it.
Yeah, he would. He is. Who do you think I learned this from, bro?
Yeah,
Grandmaster Mort, bro.
Before my wife moved in, he used to live with me, and I would be cooking. Yeah. I would be making the iftar, and he would go on his walks. Yep. And by that time, the food would be ready. It was like a couple. We were just kind of like a little couple. We were just making food for each other. He would go on his little jog or a little run, and
I can imagine, bro. Getting
it was the best time.
Cooked from Sim.
Oh, that's great,
bro.
Dude, it was amazing.
This guy and his brother, bro.
Yeah, but you know what I was thinking. That, you know how you were mentioning one thing about reading the Quran like this too, though, is that when you're faced with the real life situations, you start remembering ayat of the Quran.
Yes, sir. And they start ringing in your ears.
And I'll tell you something. So, I was making dawah today to a Christian guy. We were talking about we got him to admit that there's holes in the Bible and there's narratives and how he's like, yeah, he's beginning to understand. He's like, I just gotta research more, but he's like, yeah, I can see how that's problematic and I don't have an explanation. Anyways, and then this other Christian who was listening in the audience were coming up and they're trying to support the idea because they didn't want someone who's a Christian to do that, right? But what happened is he's like, he started off saying, oh, brother, I think you should, he's talking to another Christian guy, I think you should look at this verse and look at that verse. And they end up being some form of different in denomination or some different understanding completely. And they began attacking each other, right? Like, I mean, in a theological discussion, right? Another person comes up another Christian. He has his own point of view, and they're like now they're all three like kind of arguing. And I'm like, man, subhanAllah, the Quran talks about this. And I was just thinking in my head, I knew the ayah, but I'm just thinking, I wasn't sure exactly, I remember hearing something of this sort, right? And then I was just revising some Quran. And then I came across this ayah in Surah Al-Hashr. لا يقاتلونكم جميعا إلا في قرى محسنة أو من وراء جدر بأسهم بينهم شديد تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعقلون.
Allahu Akbar.
And Allah says قلوبهم شتى. And this is they look like that. I'll give you. It's like it's talking about the munafiqeen generally here, but it's saying they don't fight you like out in the open and only from behind their fortified areas, and they appear to be unified, but their hearts are divided.
That's the important part. Yep.
Right.
Because it's a deception.
And that's the part that I focus on. I'm like, and it's so true because like, and what I'm saying, the point of that is that you may not recall the exact surah or the ayah, right, or whatever it is, but you're connected with the Quran.
Yeah.
And that's the miracle.
It will happen. It will inevitably happen.
And that's the
maybe
miracle.
Maybe it may not happen the first day, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. And so when you take those little benefits, you're like, man, subhanAllah. And the beautiful thing about, you just mentioned about remembering Allah, that when you read it and you connect it, you start saying, subhanAllah.
Yep.
Allah spoke the truth.
Yeah, he did. And every time you remember Allah, just imagine he's mentioning you by name. Like, what is the best way to get to Allah? There's nothing more closer. There's no way of closer getting to Allah than Allah mentioning you.
I'll give you another thing. Like, I remember I was telling you today about the tweet. We weren't going to talk about it now, but there's this a brother who became a Muslim as a Jewish background. He's talking about how the Torah was corrupted and how they believe a messenger can come back. And immediately my head thought, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. They took their priests and their rabbis to be lords besides Allah.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
What's the ayah? ويل يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم.
ويل الذين يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله.
And woe to those who write a book from their hand and say that this is from Allah.
Yeah.
And woe to them for what they earn from it. And anyways, the point being is that you begin to immediately connect this. You're like, man, these people. And the Quran is saying, it's an ibrah from the past, but the difference between us and them is that, alhamdulillah, we were guided, number one, but then we submitted.
Alhamdulillah.
Right? And they continued. So that ibrah that we learn about those people in the past, they're carrying on in that way. That's why they didn't become Muslims. Because among Bani Israel and Nasara, they were Muslims. They became Muslims when they submitted. The ones that didn't, they're still repeating the same mistake of from the lessons that we learn in the Quran about them. Like the meaning, the characteristics and the behavior. Yeah. That even now, the Talmud probably has more of an influence over them than the Torah itself. Right? The Bible, they would rather listen to the preacher than the Bible. Most people don't care if there's contradictions in the Bible. They would rather listen to the preacher.
Yeah.
What makes them feel good. Continual today. It feels nice to me. And so what I'm saying, the whole point of the exercise was this, is that we kind of went off on a tangent, but the point being is that when you start reading the Quran, and when you start understanding just general meanings of these verses, who it's speaking to, who it's directed to, when it was revealed, these kinds of things, it becomes almost impossible that it won't connect to your everyday life in some way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is the Quran, man.
Yeah.
It all started from Sim asking, "Are you prepared for Ramadan, bro?"
That's the barakah of a Sayyid, bro.
Yeah, bro. MashaAllah, dude.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what the Sayyids do, bro.
The Sayyids, they keep everyone in line.
Yeah, they do.
That's true.
Especially the ones that were born in Ramadan on a winter moon.
Were you born in Ramadan?
Yeah, I was born in Ramadan. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, dude.
Winter solstice. No, it wasn't winter solstice, but it sounds much more cool.
When were you born? Cool. What was the month you were born? Islamically.
I can't remember. It may have been
like
Rajab.
The same month.
July 1st, 1981. Just look it up.
Muharram, Everyone was
depressed. Everyone was depressed.
Look,
you guys are the worst friends.
No,
why do I love you guys so much, even though you guys are the worst friends
I don't
to
believe
have,
that.
bro?
Listen, he does. Because, he has some of that, that Sayyid thing about, the morning of that happened. Me, I think Muharram
You're trying to say you have Shia inclinations, bro?
I think Muharram is a great month.
It is a great month.
The way that Allah saved Bani Israel.
You're right. He just took a side jab at you indirectly.
I was born in Dhul Hijjah.
MashaAllah.
In the third day of Dhul Hijjah.
MashaAllah. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, mashallah, bro. Yeah, man. What else?
You know what they say about Dhul Hijjah, right?
What?
It's not Ramadan.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna read. I was like, "Oh shoot! Don't accidentally say something borderline blasphemous in this joke."
No. But it is the month of Hajj.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Those
guys,
days
you guys can have this
yes.
contest
where Yom
later.
Arafah comes, you know, with
Yeah.
the day, you know.
You guys can have this contest later.
So there was that one professor. If you guys aren't aware of, there was this professor out of the University of Minnesota.
Minnesota, Hamlin, something. Yeah.
Do you remember her name?
Something Prater.
Prater.
Dennis Prager?
No, that's Prager. Prager has this like huge following on Instagram called PragerU.
Because Prager University.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it is. It's like all about constitution and theology.
Yeah, isn't he dead? Is he still alive?
No, he's still alive. He has
Oh.
a show on conservative radio here.
Oh, okay. I remember when we were young, we would listen to a lot
I
of
used
like
to listen to it.
me,
560
you.
WIND, yeah.
Yeah, we'd listen to. All
You know,
this.
and back in the day, I would never understand why you guys are so into it. I got it now. I was like 15 years late,
because
dude.
I was actually like
Michael
more,
Medved, Dennis Prager.
I was more leftist, but I wanted like their.
But the thing is, with
talking
me, I used to
points.
hear that, and I'm like, why are you guys listening to this? And later on, I started understanding. I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I enjoy the to be honest, I'll say this much. I think the quality of the conversation that they have is much more engaging for me. Like, I understand what I mean. I'm not saying the left doesn't have any argument or anything. I'm just saying that for me personally, the level of conversation that they have, the appeal to some of these arguments, I find it interesting, right, from a perspective, and that's why I would listen.
But you know why? What we see with the left, the crazy talk that we see, the loud voices, the screaming and yelling, it came as a reaction to all that right wing talk radio.
The Limbaughs.
Rush Limbaugh, Prager, Medved.
Well, those are more
the
common,
other
but
guy?
definitely like Limbaugh or Michael Savage was
Savage.
common. Yeah, Savage and Limbaugh.
So do you remember who came in from the left to respond as the leftist response before?
was that Shink?
Who?
Sink?
Cenk?
Cenk.
Oh no, you're talking about Young Turks.
Yeah.
Even before them, there was this thing called Air America Radio. It had the guy from Al Franklin.
Yeah.
Not Al Franken.
No.
Al Franken. Al Franken.
there was
I think what's her name? She's on MSNBC now.
Maddow?
And Rachel Maddow. I think
Yeah.
she was on there.
No,
so a
but
whole bunch of
there
these
was
people.
one Irish guy too. He used to be on there too. I don't remember. I forgot his name, but yeah.
So they were the first people who started like this liberal pushback with teeth. You know, they were going to be making fun of the Republicans. They're going to be yelling and screaming.
In the beginning, it was
and
fun
match 'em.
because they were actually
They were
clowning
good.
clips, and they were like showing the hypocrisy. But then it just became like
Tom
this-
Hartman, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Hartman. Yeah, it became like this blowhorn for like just wild like leftist propaganda, right? But in the beginning, it was like, oh, cool, someone's making fun of their clips and someone's making fun of what they're doing, like
Yeah.
the right wing, right?
Yeah.
But then it just went off the rails at some point.
Yeah, so her name is Lopez Prater.
Lopez Prater. So Lopez Prater got into some hot water at the University of Minnesota because she used this clip of our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, not a clip, but an
painting.
image that some of the, I don't know if it was, I don't know which branch of Islam, I don't want to get in trouble for using the wrong branch, but some people who practiced Islamic art, they made a depiction of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to show the picture of it, but
No, don't do that.
Yeah, they didn't even show it either.
But the problem is that yes, it was created by Muslims, and she showed it in class as part of Islamic history.
Yeah.
And someone complained about her,
Student
and
complained,
and she ended up getting fired. Now, when I saw this, I didn't see this as the same level of intolerance or
I agree.
some kind of insult to Muslims. I saw this as an academic who was trying to show, a non-Muslim academic who's showing what Muslims have done. It wasn't like a a crazy branch of Islam, but it was part of the mainstream Muslims who did it.
Actually, I don't think it was mainstream.
No. If we're going to be honest, during the Ottoman era, there were many caricatures created of the Prophet. Like, I mean,
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know
yes,
that.
yes. It was very common throughout them.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I thought that was just a Mu'tazili thing.
No. Some of them would add a face, but during the Ottoman period, they would kind of blur the face too a little bit, right? But they would have other companions, and they were in some other. Don't forget the Ottomans had many different types of people living under them too, right? It wasn't openly condemned though, right? So yes, it was common at some point to have drawings like this, and there were miniatures, they called them, right?
Yeah.
But I have to agree with Sim. While I don't endorse these things, it's not the same as someone like Charlie Hebdo.
No, of course not. So let's a little more of a clarification. So the teacher is suing the university. Why is she suing the university? Is because with Lopez, I don't even know if that's a female. But anyways, Lopez Prater is suing the university because they didn't renew her contract because when the student complained about this teacher, this professor showing this picture, the student complains. And then there's some hot water, like Sim mentioned, and then they don't renew her contract, right? So she wants to sue the university because of that.
By the way, her name is Erica Lopez Prater.
Okay. Erica Lopez Prater, thank you.
So she's a woman. Okay.
So so she talked to the chair and stuff like that before she ended up getting let go.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So no, I get it. Look, in reality, it could have been a mistake. It's hard to believe. Let's just say it's hard to believe that somebody doesn't know the sensitivity behind it. And if it was that she's like, oh, Muslims showed it, I can show it too, type thing, right? That's not really malicious. I get it, but somebody should definitely call it out, and that type of thing should happen for sure.
But I think the better stance would be for Muslims to say, hey, we just wanted her not to show it. I don't think she should lose her job over this.
Yeah. I mean,
totally. You have to be able to show. Yeah, you have to be able to show the justice and the balance of Islam.
Yes.
If someone doesn't know, we correct the action, but we don't. There's nothing irredeemable. I mean, meaning that you know what? Hey, if it happens again, that's something. Then we know for sure the intention was malicious, right? But if granted, you did not know this, or maybe you didn't have the right information. Maybe you didn't know that, even if Muslims drew an image, it's not allowed, right? No matter, even if it may have been done by some people, it's not allowed, right? And so I think it would be nice if the Muslim communities would reach out instead of like just, fighting it, and just meaning what I'm saying is that say that, listen, what we wanted was accomplished, that she doesn't show these things, and we hope that the university institutes policies that prevent this from other teachers of all disciplines of showing these pictures or pictures of the Prophet. But if she genuinely didn't know, then we don't think that she should be terminated based on this.
But do you think it's our business to police? I mean, this is art history, right? We're not telling her to stop showing. She's not showing un-Islamic, or she's not showing bigoted representations or something insulting towards the Prophet. She's showing what's considered part of Islamic art history to her students. Why should we? I mean, why should we push back at that?
Yeah, I think it's too liberal to do that. I think it's too. I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because if we have the ability to exercise control over that, we should do that. Right, if we can get it done where they don't show it, that is the better option for the Muslims.
No, but not only that, we have to understand. Look, every incident that we're in is going to be amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar.
Yeah.
Right, and we don't want to, as Allah says, don't encourage, encourage birr wa taqwa, ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان, and don't. And don't help and save and be behind or ban behind somebody who's doing something wrong or something that's un-Islamic, right? But the mission of the believer is amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. We have to see every incident is gonna fall under amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. Where does amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar fall in depicting Rasulullah when it's not allowed, right? So I think that's kind of the gauge. I think that's where the person should be coming from, who's actually reprimanded this teacher or brought this to the attention of the teacher.
So I think, to Sim's point though, to rectify, to come off as balanced as possible, we can say, listen, we're glad that the university took it serious, that we don't want these images, but at the same time, we are forgiving people. We are people of rationality, meaning that if she had no idea, then we don't think she should be terminated. We're not going to.
Yeah, we don't want the stench of woke culture being
because
there.
we don't. Yeah, we don't follow the culture of other people.
Yeah.
Right. We believe in justice.
Yeah.
Right. And we believe that Allah's his wrath. I mean, his mercy overextends his wrath, right? Of course, that's for the believer, but nonetheless, we show that, we're not trying here just to silence people for no reason, right?
For sure.
We don't. You may not be a bad teacher. Maybe you have glowing reviews about your art that you teach, right? Just making a mistake doesn't mean that, because look, many Muslims can be jahil of certain things, right? So it's possible that this woman is jahil as well too. Why not take the opportunity to highlight that, hey, this is wrong, but we're not against you. Actually, come to us next time and we'll tell you what you can show in Islamic art. We'll be happy to work on a lesson plan that is, generally considered okay within Islam. We have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe, so let's just say, I'm just trying to be a devil's advocate here. Don't murder me.
You should be offended that your grandfather was shown in a picture, bro. You should be offended.
My grandfather was shown in a picture?
Anyway, no.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, no.
Oh, my God, bro. So what I was trying to say is that people, look, from a secular perspective, they're going to say, okay, well, maybe you find that offensive, and maybe you could exclude yourself from the segment of the class where, this representation is being, explored, and maybe you want to go, do something else, and we'll call you back, and, if you're want to step away. And while we discuss this actually happened at my high school when we were young. The class instructor was asked all the students in the class to draw what they thought the Prophet Muhammad looked like.
What, in high school?
Yeah. Remember Vandenberg?
Yeah. I never knew about this.
Yeah. This was.
That's ridiculous.
So I was I was so puzzled because I didn't know how to handle it, because I'm like, well, they're not Muslim. They could draw the Prophet Muhammad however they want. I mean, like, in terms of like their own belief, they're not insulting. They're not creating like ugly. But
what a weird thing to do. Why did he do that though?
Yeah, like it wasn't coming from a bad place, which threw me off because I didn't know what to say.
Do that though? Like, what was the intention behind?
Because there was some, at least from the textbook that they were going off of, there was some description of how the Prophet Muhammad looked like.
They do that with God too. They say, "What do you think God looks like?" and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
they
weren't being mean though. That's the point. So
they're just really stupid.
They're just being dumb. So this was. At least from a secular perspective, they're saying that, hey, we're just studying this. We're not trying to make a commentary about what the Prophet looked like, or we're trying to be insulting towards you. We're just trying to study this. I mean, from that's how academia looks at this. I mean, at least before the whole woke culture came about, academia would say, well, there might be things related to troubling areas of history that's debated and stuff that might upset people. That doesn't mean that discussion around it should stop, and how would you respond to that? Like, they would say, like, okay, well, maybe you don't like it, and maybe you could step out during class, but we're not discussing this in a way to offend you. We're trying to just study the Islamic history aspect of art.
At the bottom line, listen, again, when it comes to enjoying the good and forbidding the evil, you can only do what you can do with whatever authority you have, right? So I'm going to try that avenue. If they're willing to listen to me and stop showing this, I'm going to take that route. If they push back and say, no, we're not going to do it, just don't attend the class, then there are other avenues. We can say, listen, fine, I'm not going to attend. We're going to boycott the school. We're going to tell Muslims not to do this. We have a right. You can just, as you want to do. But I'm saying, if they're offering to withhold that, right, and not do it, I'm taking that option A. I'm taking the best option. If they're willing to accommodate that, why would I pass that up? Right? If they want to push back and make this commission, and eventually, I'm sure they can find some legal precedents to say, no, we can continue to draw it. Who cares? It's freedom of expression. I'm sure they probably could. Right? But again, why not take advantage of the situation where this university does not want to have negative publicity? They don't want to come off as bigoted, and they maybe fear some people who might lose their shit completely, which, hey, I'm not saying I advocate for, but it's a legitimate fear for them probably, right? I'm saying all that together, if I can enforce a policy and bring something to light where they're going to respond in a positive way that I want, I'm going to exercise that option.
Yeah.
Right? If they push back, and I agree with what Sim is saying, the option would then be that, no, we're going to avoid being there. Why? Because
or
for
raise
me,
awareness about it. Be like, hey, they're doing this.
not only that, but I wouldn't go to the class. And I'll tell you why. For me, this action, even if they don't recognize it, it falls in line with Surah An-Nisa, where it talks about not sitting with those who mock.
Yeah.
There's no, because this is just a simple form of it, but I don't want to get into the detail of it, but I don't believe it'd be permissible to sit with them, and you'd have to leave their presence. And I would say to tell Muslims to boycott that class. And
would you call for her firing?
If she did not want to, it depends on, again, what situation, right? Like I said,
this is the situation. She's not meaning to offend. That's what.
Hold on. What I'm saying is that even in a situation right now, I'm not saying she should be fired. If they're willing to say that, hey, stop, showing these, I don't think she should be fired. All I want is for them to stop showing it, right? Now, if they reject that, right, and if they don't want to uphold the policy of not showing it, and we have nothing else to do, then I don't mind encouraging someone to write letters to say we should get rid of her. She has no cultural sensitivity. No problem. Stop it with whatever way you can.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to abide by it. We're not forcing anybody, but we will exercise our right. Just like they have an opinion, we can exercise our opinion, which is to make it very well known. This is something the Muslim community does not want. We will speak actively against it. We're going to speak out against it, and we're going to tell people not to attend places like this because they have no respect for Muslims. When if they really truly want to display Islamic art and out of a gesture of appreciation for Islamic culture, then you're going to understand how we view art.
Yeah, and there's so many other things that we brought to art. Look, we brought to art so many different things, so many different levels of art.
Like, honestly, when it comes to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that's just maybe even like a minute, like in a small period of Islam where they might have done that. But the other art that Islam truly, during the Islamic period, it's not even like there's anything significant about it. Like, did the miniatures of the Prophet, was it some kind of unique drawing style? Was it unique? No, they had these things already. They got it from the Orientalists.
Dude, you have to remember, a lot of it had to do with either two things. Very little of it had to do with the shock value, but the shock value becomes beautiful when you revere this person very much, and they try to demonstrate love, which is why Rasulullah was very, very blatant about making pictures. A lot of it had to do with acts of worship, right? And people falling into worship, and because people still do it. People still make pictures of people. You even go to Hindu homes, Muslim homes. Unfortunately, you go to India, they have a person that they revere a saint, and they go every morning and they do dua to that person because a picture of all that stuff still happens, right? Yeah. But the reality is this. Look, number one, Islam came as a disruptor. What do I mean as a disruptor? I'm not saying in a negative connotation. Islam came to disrupt what people deem to be what is a human being and who their creator is, and why we're here to change that entire landscape. The second thing is that we as Muslims never believed in following the same methods of people of what they consider academic or what they don't consider academic. There's obviously room for that in Islam. But in Islam, if we're leveling the playing field of what is right and wrong, then that's where Muslims will never find success, right? We only find success in being disruptors on the level of doing things differently. And there is crossing the line for us. We don't care what setting that we're in. We don't care who's there. There's certain things for us that we're very principle oriented that we're not tolerant of. There's certain things that we're not tolerant of, and that's what makes Islam very unique, right? There's certain things that we're very principle based in. You could talk about this, you could ask us even questions about Allah, because Allah addresses the questions that people have about Allah. Allah addresses the questions that people have about prophethood and the mindset that they have. But there's certain things for us that are no-go zone, and those are universal. We don't care where we are. We don't care what your rules are. We don't care what sensitivities you have. There's certain things for us that are not okay, and we're not going to be okay with that because this is Allah's world. You don't recognize this as Allah's world. We recognize it is, and we uphold certain values and certain rules, and they are to be followed if a Muslim is present or they're not present. Yeah. They have to be followed. You know what I'm saying?
No, just to be clear to the audience, Sim does not hold this position. He's just arguing from just playing the devil's advocate. Of course, he doesn't want pictures of the Prophet floating around.
People usually associate me with the
bad guy. That's usually
the bad guy.
That's usually me.
I'm just trying to be like,
of course.
Trying
to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, trying to show the other perspective because sometimes we don't have the
jag bag.
You're critically thinking, out of the box
Yeah.
how someone would ask, because the mindset that you're asking from on the face value seems like a legitimate question that has a legitimate answer.
So I
right?
think the approach is easy. It's not about changing their minds completely, right? It's about doing what we can do within the power that we have.
Yeah.
Right?
And for
if
us, it's
if I
doing
can
what's
do
right.
exercise A, which is to get it out completely, and that is the best option, I'll take the option that way first. Try that. If not, then it's option B, which is to be very vocal about what this means to us, why we don't like it. If that means calling for her resignation, calling for a boycott of that university, fine. I mean, and then at the very least, if that doesn't work, then we know that, hey, at least we know inside of our hearts that we are disavowed from this. We don't like it. We don't endorse this. We dislike it, and it's not something that we endorse as Muslims.
Yeah,
but I think that it all just depends on what you can do, because we know at the end of the day, this is their system, their laws, right? They can make even something that would be, if it was illegal potentially, they could find a loophole, right? And they could just whatever. So we're not really talking about winning the battle in that sense, right? The secular battle. Secularism can be understood in many different ways. But I think the question should be, what can you as a Muslim do in this situation? And I would say the first option would be the best option, right? Take the first option that you can, with the best outcome, and work that way progressively, right? And so in this particular case, what I'm saying is that since they're willing to retract the pictures and not show them, I think we should also come a little bit halfway to show that Muslims aren't just out here because we want to complain and cry. Look, if she's willing, she agreed, and she doesn't want to do it anymore, and she's willing to abide by the rule book there, or the new policy, she doesn't need to be fired. She learned her lesson. This would be a better lesson for her to learn that, listen, the Muslims out here like just cancel culturing, right? We just don't want her to do that part. Yeah. We're willing to overlook that.
Yeah.
And
how else is she going to know about Islam? How else are everybody else going to know about Islam? It's because of that one person that people have this curiosity now. It's because something was raised, and that's a different type of dawah, obviously. It's a good form of dawah. It's to raise awareness of something that's not allowed in the presence of a Muslim, or not in the presence of a Muslim. Yeah. That's how we do dawah also. That's how all these people are going to... Look, if Rasulullah said that Islam is going to enter every household, it's going to enter. And it's going to enter in a million different ways. It's going to enter by way of people mocking Islam. It's going to be a way of people making parody of Islam. It's going to be a way of people promoting Islam, debating Islam. There's going to be millions of avenues. And this is one of the avenues.
I saw this wonderful thing, a response to him, by the way. You know that one guy we talked about last week or a couple weeks ago, that was burning the Quran? Remember that? Yeah. So this one brother, he came up with a wonderful video to him. He said, listen, for every Quran you burn, I'm going to print 100 and give it out to people. So he said, keep doing it, because you're going to make me just buy more Qur'ans and buy more Qur'ans.
And
right?
every Qur'an that they burn, there's going to be at least 100 Hafaz in this world.
And we're gonna,
good luck.
But I'm thinking
you can't burn the Qur'an, it's in the chest.
Right? So I think that to me was probably one of the best responses that we could have given. Hey, you want to burn it? No problem, because you know why? When you do something like that, rational people are going to think, what would make somebody viscerally hate the Quran so much that they're willing just to waste time out of the day and drive around town scared for their life burning this Quran? Right? What's so damning about this book? A rational person is probably going to flip through the pages.
Yeah, of course they are. They're like,
right?
Wait, why are they burning this?
We're going to be right there giving them the Quran.
Yes, sir.
Here you go, buddy. We'll see you in a few weeks for a Shahada.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so, well before we kind of transition, I want to talk about something else that was posted in the group. I'm surprised we didn't bring it up earlier.
What?
What do you think about that whole thing? Because I didn't really read the article, but about our own Rachel Dozer, like the whole
Oh yeah. So
I didn't really understand what was happening, but apparently, while Sim pulls it up, apparently there's a woman who's been pretending to be Arab, Latina, and South Asian as a Muslim, and has been and also is an LGBTQ advocate, but has been all on the Muslim scene, trying to be a voice for being a person of color who's a minority also, because a woman, a Muslim, LGBTQ, whatever, and a person of color because they're Arab and Indo-Pak, right? Well, it turns out that her mother says, I don't know why she's doing this. I'm Irish and English, and her father's Italian. He's Calabrese. And she's
I honestly didn't know about this.
Yeah, and someone had posted it, right? Yeah. In the group, right? So maybe you can bring up the...
Al Jazeera had something, but I didn't know it was at this depth.
Yeah.
'Cause I just read the headline.
There you go. So this is what she looks like.
Go ahead, take it away. Let us know what.
All right. Stupid pop-up. Get away.
Can't you just exit out?
Yeah, 1 second here.
Oh yeah, scale it. But hold
Yeah.
on, guys. We're just scaling the web page to fit. We got some new setup because we did get a new computer. Alhamdulillah with the donations. So OBS is still being configured away. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you all for your donations. A lot of you guys know who you are. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable mentioning everyone's names because I don't have your permissions to do that. So you all know who you are, who donated, and always thanks to our Patreon members who helped us out getting this new computer and cameras that we're in the process of implementing as well. Yeah, so here it is. It appears that in the last decade or so, we've seen a relatively new phenomenon of white people who are not content with being white. Maybe whiteness isn't as sexy as it used to be, perhaps 400 years ago or so, of white supremacy, or white power, whiteness dominating popular culture, despite popular culture largely shaped by black people, has caused Caucasians to go out of style. So it goes on to say, meet Raquel Evita Sarsawati. For years, Sarsawati has held down the position of Chief Equity, Inclusion and Culture Officer for the American Friends Service Committee, which The Intercept described as a prominent Quaker organization known for its progressive values and social justice advocacy in the U.S. and abroad. Sarsawati appeared to be perfect for the job, a queer Muslim woman of Latina, South Asian, and Arab descent. Only according to her own family members, she is neither Latina, South Asian, or Arab.
Uh-oh.
Instead, she's mixed with white, and infinitely more white. In fact, Sarsawati's real name is Rachel. Not that Rachel, but pretty much that Rachel. So here's a screenshot. Sarsawati, her mother added, is of British, German, and Italian descent, not Latina, South Asian, or Arab. I'm as white as driven snow, and so is she, added Perone. Another relative who asked not to be identified confirmed Sarsawati is white. So I don't know why The Intercept is doing this kind of investigation, but it's interesting that they are.
Yeah, they reached out to
usually
people.
they do hardcore.
Yeah. Like hardcore, real controversial things, right?
Yeah.
But I think it just seems to be something more about like a case of stolen identity. Maybe the author is just really deeply, offended by people who are trying to represent people of color.
Yeah. Perot noted that her daughter converted to Islam in high school and that at some point she seemed to have felt the need to portray herself as having a different ethnic identity.
It's funny because somewhere in the article it says around 2018 or something. So anyway, she started parading herself to be like an Indo-Pak when Kamala Harris won something.
Yeah.
No one has the right to tell her what she is, right?
Oh, so she did put out a statement. Here we go. Update. Hello everyone. I assure people that as soon as I am capable, I will provide answers to the recent discussion and attack on me. I understand all the reactions you're having. I am currently taking the time to get to where I can answer in a way that is most helpful and thorough.
What a bullshit. I'm sorry, dude.
Wait, what about that was so wordy. Why didn't you just answer it right there?
I realize that some people will be angered by my use of attack, and that for some, nothing I say will be enough. That's okay too. I also realize that my taking space both isn't helping me in the public sphere, nor is it helping you. Sure, some responses to all this will be short, but right now I am focusing on making it to the top of each next hour and need to sit with loved ones and receive their guidance and care. More will come, I assure you. Love and light, and Allah knows best.
And Allah exposes you best.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah. No, but what I'm saying is this idea, like, you know how it's like a typical page out of that whole movement. the onslaught, the attack, the vicious. I feel like saying, I feel attacked that you represented brown people when you ain't brown. I feel even more offended that you represented Muslims when you're queer.
She's taking time off to come up with excuses, Mort.
But that message was so wordy. Why not just explain it right
I think you're taking time off just to leave the country.
She doesn't know what to say, bro.
I know, it's by time.
What are you going to say? Like, when your mother outs you?
Yeah, right.
You know they ain't going to have a good relationship ever.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's...
Mom! I can't imagine. Mom, why the hell did you tell them?
Well,
I hate you, Mom.
You know white kids too, right?
Yeah.
They're like, F you, Mom.
Yeah. Screw you, Mom. How dare you? You don't respect my boundaries, Mom, Mother.
Dude, I remember the first time I saw kids...
Sorry, Robert, we don't mean all white people. We're just saying whatever you know.
Not all white people.
I remember, dude, the first time, like, the neighborhood that we grew up in is all non-Muslim, but back then we were just a few Muslims and the rest were, you know, white folk. And I remember the first time I saw a kid cuss at his parents and his mom, I was like, what are you doing? Like, I was, like, scared for him, and nothing happened. I was like,
yeah.
What?
That happened to me, too. Me and my boy Wally, my black friend, we went to this white kid's house, Sean, right?
Sean?
Yeah,
he's outing Sean.
Sean Fletcher. He's dead now, by the way. He died with suicide, 16 years old. Anyways, but listen,
that went dark real quick.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, I didn't know. But I mean,
Sim's face just changed.
I kind of forgot about him. I mean,
I was thinking about Wally, maybe looking him up on Facebook, and he's like, he died.
No, Wally's still around.
Wally's around.
Sean's
not. Wally's like a male stripper now. But anyways, yeah, he is literally. He is.
That went a little dark too.
Yeah.
Can you just don't give us any background about your stories, bro? Just tell us the content.
I didn't give Wally's last name because he's still alive. But listen, so we walk into the house and I swear he's like, we'd come in and you know who's there? It's me, Mom. And he's like, hey, you know, there's some of your laundry I left it. Like, I left it on the thing. He's like, okay, I'll do it later. Like, well, why don't you just do it right now? Because you're in the mud room, you know, where they have the laundry room. Like, I'll effing do it later. Why the F are you always bugging me? Get off my ass, right? Like, you know, just, and me and Wally just look like,
what?
We're gonna go, right? Because we thought
that's scary.
Someone's gonna happen.
You're a little. That's scary.
No, we thought someone was gonna get beat. Like that was it, right? I mean, if we would have said, God forbid, anything like that.
Forget about beat. Just the dude. What it comes down to is this. Look, especially as a Muslim, it comes down to like disrespect. Like respect is big. It's not because of physical ramifications. It's about value.
It's
man.
even the tone that you use with your parents.
Yeah, bro. It's
like,
about value.
Like just there, your chef up. Like you know the stuff they do. Like anyway, so but he's like, nah, it's cool, bro. Come on, we'll play some. You know, we're gonna play some. You know, I forgot what we're doing. What? This is cool, man. Don't worry. I'm like, and I was just so appalled. Me and Wally were like,
how do you feel comfortable being around his mom after that?
Yeah, I'm like, how is he so nice to us and so much to his mother?
Who's that? What was that one movie where Jonah, what's his name?
Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill.
I know what you're going to talk about. The neighborhood watch. The neighborhood watch. His mom is going to ask him what he's doing. He just
walks past with his finger flicked out.
No communication, just finger flicked out.
No, what about the other movie? Was it like Super Bad or whatever? Remember he's like hitting on the guy's mother in front of him?
Yeah.
What a weird thing, bro. Yeah. Hey, bro, your mom's hot, bro.
It's a way of desensitizing.
No, but I'm saying it didn't just that movie didn't start that.
No, I know it didn't.
Yeah, I'm saying I know, but that was a reflection of what happens.
And what people find funny. That's what they get entertainment.
Oh my God. Anyways, yeah,
dude.
Point being.
But can we please? I'm kind of excited now about our guest. That's going to be
excited. Oh yeah, let's talk about it. So
give them a little bit of a teaser trailer.
A lot has happened since we reached out. So we were able to secure a guest with a gentleman who I'm trying to pull.
He's trying to be as respectful as possible without giving too much away.
No. Basically, we thought that we weren't going to be able to get him, but alhamdulillah, we got him. His name is Yaqub Ahmed, Dr. Yaqub Ahmed from. Where are you from?
Yaqub Institute.
He lives in Turkey, but he's a historian who has a degree in Ottoman history, late Ottoman history, and Turkish politics. His research focuses on Muslim intellectual thought, 19th and 20th centuries, Islamic constitutionalism, nation-state construction, Ulama History of the Late Ottoman State, Identity and Collective Memory Construction. So we're incredibly delighted to have him on Sunday, inshallah. So keep an eye out for that episode.
And you had told me he's probably the
if you are in Chicago,
best...
I'm sorry. If you are in Chicago, he's going to be lecturing. I'll go ahead and put the link to the lecture in the episode description. So make sure you check that out.
should try to attend that.
No, but I remember you mentioning.
I bought a ticket. I don't know if I'll be able to make it though. But inshallah.
No, I remember you mentioning that, like, if there's anybody in the Muslim world that is somewhat of a compendium of Muslim Ottoman history, is this guy.
Ooh,
He's one of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. He's been featured on Blood Brothers. I think Dr. Shadi also recently had him. He's during his recent trip to America last week. So Sheikh Hamza Makbul facilitated his his trip to Chicago, and
so he's British.
He's lecturing. I don't. Well, he went to SOAS, so the School of Oriental and African Studies is a university in London.
Oxford, right?
So I'm sure he's probably raised British, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to that episode. I love reading Ottoman history, so yeah.
Around what time are we doing that Sunday, CST?
It'll probably be after his lecture. So his lecture ends around 4 p.m. So it'll probably be an evening lecture. So
okay. But the
Sunday
podcast,
fun day.
Yeah, thank you for the reason why I had that weird reaction is he poked me with this. He's been randomly poking me with this. It's got some sharp edges on it.
I have to be the one like Umar ibn Khattab with the stick to keep them in line.
The brothers in the chat are saying that he grew up in South London. So
South London,
Southie.
It's South London.
Do they call him Southie in South London? Is that a Boston thing?
It's a Boston thing.
Yeah, that's only Boston thing. We used to in Chicago say South.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what's wrong with your ass?
I think that's our show. Before we, in a couple weeks we're gonna have Talif, Will Caldwell, and Ali Dia from Talif will be joining us on the weekend. Excited to have them as well. Who else?
Is that end of March or end of February? I think it's end of February.
That's the first week of March.
First week of March, okay.
Yeah. And then another cool episode, inshallah, we'll have for you guys more details about that. I think this is one of the coolest episodes that I have yet to have.
So much so he hasn't even told us yet.
I haven't even told you guys yet, but it's a really cool one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.